Imagine taking a pill every day, believing it's helping you stay healthy. A pill prescribed by doctors, trusted by millions. Safe, reliable, necessary. Now imagine that same pill slowly killing you. For decades, Mediator was sold as a diabetes drug, but it became a secret favorite for weight loss. Millions of people took it, unaware of the danger hidden in each dose.
Nearly a decade after the scandal first broke, a French pharmaceutical company and the country's state regulator have gone on trial over the manufacture of a prescription drug that's thought to have killed hundreds of people.
Well, this is really one of France's biggest healthcare scandals. The Mediator drug was on the market for over 30 years. There were something like 5 million users.
How could a deadly pill stay legal for 30 years? How could a pharmaceutical giant continue selling it while early warnings were ignored? And why did regulators, the very people meant to protect patients, fail to act? This isn't just a story about medicine gone wrong. It's a story about profit, denial, and a system that allowed a lethal drug to quietly destroy lives. Over the next few minutes, we'll uncover the shocking truth behind the pill that fooled France. Mediator was developed by Servier, one of France's largest pharmaceutical companies. Originally presented as a metabolic booster for diabetic patients, it promised a simple, safe way to regulate blood sugar. Doctors prescribed it, trusting the company's reputation, and patients believed they were taking a harmless, helpful medication. But the drug's use quickly expanded beyond diabetes. Mediator became popular as a slimming aid, especially among women seeking effortless weight loss. Its chemical structure bore similarities to amphetamines, which had been banned in other drugs for heart risks, but Servier downplayed these warnings, insisting the drug was safe. Servier built an image of Mediator as a modern, reliable, and effective solution. Advertising campaigns targeted doctors, medical representatives promoted it as a scientific breakthrough, and patients embraced the promise of easy health improvements. Early warning signs, palpitations, shortness of breath, heart complications were dismissed as rare, isolated cases. But these isolated cases were only the beginning. Behind the marketing and glossy brochures, a far more dangerous reality was quietly taking shape. In laboratories, offices, and hospitals, the groundwork was being laid for a scandal that would eventually reveal the deadly consequences of a pill trusted by millions. How many patients would be affected before anyone noticed? By the early 1990s, some doctors began noticing a troubling and persistent pattern. Patients taking Mediator were developing heart valve problems, shortness of breath, and unusual pulmonary conditions. Scientific reports suggested a link between Mediator and other appetite suppressants that had already been banned for their dangerous cardiovascular effects. Despite these warnings, very little action was taken. Doctors filed reports, studies were submitted, and alarms were raised, but regulators dismissed them as rare, isolated incidents. Patients continued taking the drug, unaware of the growing danger, while Servier carried on marketing Mediator as safe and effective. Internal documents released years later revealed a chilling truth. Servier had been aware of the risks for decades. The company knew the potential for widespread harm, yet prioritized profits over safety, suppressing evidence and downplaying side effects. Regulators, seemingly influenced by Servier's power and prestige, failed to act decisively. How could a pharmaceutical company put profit above human lives? How could agencies charged with protecting citizens allow a dangerous drug to remain on the market? These questions hung unanswered, until one determined doctor refused to accept the official narrative and began connecting the dots in a way no one else dared. What she uncovered would change everything. Dr. Irene Frochon, a pulmonologist from Brest, began noticing a disturbing pattern among her patients. Cases of heart valve damage, unexplained pulmonary complications, and sudden deaths seemed far too frequent to be coincidental. Something wasn't right, and Frachon was determined to find out why. She started meticulously documenting each case, carefully tracing patient histories, dosages, and medical outcomes. The connection to Mediator became increasingly clear. But taking on a pharmaceutical giant like Servier was no small task. Frachon faced constant pressure, dismissal from colleagues, legal threats, and warnings to abandon her investigation. The system seemed set up to protect the company rather than the patients it had harmed. Refusing to be silenced, Frachon went public. She published her findings and wrote the book Mediator 150 milligrams, How Many Dead? A damning account that revealed the scale of the tragedy. Her work became the cornerstone of both public awareness and legal action, finally exposing the quiet devastation that had been unfolding behind hospital doors for decades. Frachon's persistence forced authorities and the public to confront an uncomfortable truth. A trusted drug had been quietly killing thousands. Yet, as the investigation unfolded, the consequences would reach far beyond France's borders, shaking the pharmaceutical world to its core.
The head and founder of France's Servier Laboratories went on trial on Tuesday, accused of misleading patients and authorities about a diabetes pill Mediator, often prescribed for weight loss, that officials blame for at least 500 deaths. The case, one of France's biggest health scandals, has put authorities under scrutiny for allowing the sale of Mediator long after the medicine had been pulled in other European countries.
The French media quickly seized on Dr. Frachon's revelations. What had started as a quiet medical concern erupted into a national scandal. France came to realize that nearly 5 million people had been prescribed Mediator over several decades. Official investigations estimated that between 500 and 2,000 deaths could be directly linked to the drug. Families began speaking out, sharing heartbreaking stories of loved ones who had trusted a pill that had slowly and silently taken their lives. Public outrage surged as citizens demanded accountability, exposing deep flaws in the French health system and raising uncomfortable questions about who was responsible for protecting patients. Investigations revealed a chilling truth that Servier had systematically concealed evidence of Mediator's dangers, and regulatory agencies had failed to act. Influence, prestige, and profit had consistently outweighed safety and ethics. The Mediator scandal became more than a health crisis. Investigators uncovered documents hidden for decades. What secrets did they reveal? And who would pay the price? The company was charged with fraud and involuntary manslaughter. Courtrooms were filled with families who had lost loved ones. During the trial, internal emails and confidential documents exposed a deliberate, long-term effort to mislead doctors, regulators, and patients.
A guilty verdict and a €2.7 million fine for French drug maker Servier, after some 7,000 civil plaintiffs accused the company of marketing the weight loss pill Mediator, despite being aware of the dangerous link to it. France's health ministry says at least 500 people died of heart valve problems in the country because of exposure to the drug. Irène Frachon, a respirologist at a hospital in Brest, led research into Mediator in 2007, alerting authorities to the risks.
Yet the penalties seemed almost symbolic. A fine of €2.7 million, a tiny fraction of the company's billions in revenue, leaving many questioning whether justice had truly been served. The verdict underscored a painful truth. Legal action could never undo the damage. Servier's reputation was irreparably damaged, yet for many, justice felt incomplete. The fines imposed could never compensate for the thousands of lives lost, the families devastated, or the trust shattered in institutions meant to protect the public. In response, France implemented reforms in drug approval and monitoring processes, designed to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Yet unsettling questions remain. How many other drugs, quietly approved and widely trusted, might conceal hidden dangers? How many lives could be at risk while corporate influence and regulatory gaps persist behind closed doors? If a pill meant to heal can instead kill, who can we truly trust?